Hello, I'm Andrew Pritchard. Thank you for watching today's Corn Belt Regional Forecast, brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions. We'll start off on Tuesday morning looking at the water vapor imagery loop here across the entire United States, much of North America, and we see a couple things. First, we've got the departing storm system that brought rain to much of the central Corn Belt, some severe weather to parts of the Corn Belt, and some snow to parts of the Corn Belt over the weekend. Off to the west, we've got our next approaching storm system beginning to dig across the west coast, and that's going to be ejecting across the central U.S. as we get to the middle part of the week. We can look at the jet stream, and we see that here. It's this U shape, that trough. That is our next upper level disturbance over the west coast this morning, but that does shift over the central U.S. over the next 24 to 48 hours. And what does that mean? Well, first, it means we're warming up across a big part of the Corn Belt, where we saw snow over parts of Missouri and Illinois on Sunday. Already back in the 50s, so that's quite the turnaround there from snow to what will be high temperatures in the middle 70s in just 48 hours. But hey, that's April in the Midwest. Still have some colder temperatures lingering across the northern plains into the upper Midwest, where we've got some snow on the ground, but we will be warming up in those areas as well over the next couple of days. Now, it's really been the precipitation, though, that's been the story. It hasn't so much been the temperatures as it was last April with brutally cold weather lingering. It's been cool in places, but it's been the repeated rounds of heavy precipitation that are, keeping us from getting started with planting and potentially delaying planting in some areas, which has really been the headache. We're looking at the last 30 days of precipitation here, and the story is told with these storm systems developing over the central and southern plains, tracking northeastward through the Midwest, delivering rain and thunderstorms to parts of the central Corn Belt, the eastern Corn Belt, and across the north, potentially dealing with rounds of snow over the last couple of weeks. The story is starting to emerge here then. We can see corn planting progress compared to the last 5 years of average. This is from the USDA's crop progress report that came out yesterday. And this is early on, and so we're starting to just now get a look at some of the potential delays here, but it's a story we'll be watching over the next couple of weeks. Especially across parts of the central and the eastern Corn Belt where we've seen repeated heavy rain, and we're getting close to or getting into the typical time of year when we would start planting. So this is a map that we'll be tracking here over the next few weeks as we look for areas where we're seeing possibly significant delays here, talking about planting this year. Getting us through 7 a.m. on Friday, forecast precipitation. This is from the NBM, the National Blended Model. And you can see the track of this next storm system Wednesday and Thursday, tracking from the Central Plains into the Midwest, delivering another round of rain and thunderstorms across parts of Kansas, Missouri, Illinois, and Indiana, southward towards the Gulf. We've got another separate disturbance around the same time that could bring some showers to parts of Minnesota and Wisconsin, getting into Michigan on, again, Tuesday, or this would be Wednesday that we're tracking that disturbance. We do have to talk about some severe weather with some of these as well. This is the day 2 outlook for Wednesday, highlighting a slight risk from parts of Kansas, Missouri, into Iowa, and a sliver of Illinois there, that yellow shading. Slightly higher risk across parts of Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Texas, where there's an enhanced risk. And surrounding all that, the dark green shading is a marginal risk, which extends a little bit further to the north and to the east. We can look ahead another day, Thursday, the day 3 outlook. We've got a marginal risk across parts of Illinois and Indiana, with a slight risk across the boot heel of Missouri, far southern Illinois, parts of Kentucky and Tennessee, and then extending south towards the Gulf Coast as well. We can time this out just a little bit. Let's go ahead and we'll track this day by day for you. Beginning on Tuesday, mostly quiet across the Corn Belt here. A lot of this, you're seeing some light showers here. This is not actually going to be making it to the ground. We'll be dry in those areas through the day on Tuesday. Getting into Wednesday night, now we're starting to see some of those showers across the upper Midwest and the northern plains. Again, we're going to start to see some light showers possibly showing up on the radar here, but this, again, I think we're going to be dry in this area through the day on Wednesday, warm and dry day. We're now into Wednesday evening, so about 5 p.m. Central Time on Wednesday evening, seeing rain falling across much of Minnesota and Wisconsin, and this is when we'll start to see those thunderstorms erupt. Remember, there's a slight and an enhanced risk for severe storms on Wednesday afternoon and evening across the Central Plains, and it's exactly here, Wednesday evening into early on Wednesday night. We expect to see a line of thunderstorms developing along the cold front off to the west across parts of Kansas and Missouri. Now, there's been some advertisement here from the forecast models of a complex of thunderstorms developing across Kansas and Missouri, racing into the state of Illinois. This would be early on Thursday morning. We're talking 4 or 5 in the morning on Thursday morning, perhaps tracking through parts of Illinois. But you want to talk about things in meteorology that are hard to forecast. It's these complexes of thunderstorms that we'll be talking about, especially as we head into the summer. But sometimes during the evening, we get an area of thunderstorms that blows up. Those will develop into or grow upscale into a line or a bow like that, and then race off to the east. And where those track, when they arrive, and how they're going to behave exactly it's something that our computer models have a very hard time nailing down. So for now, we expect Wednesday evening an area of showers and storms to develop across parts of the Central Plains, parts of Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, and Missouri. And there seems to be a good chance that some of those will push off to the east, maybe moving into parts of Illinois late Wednesday night into Thursday morning. As we head into the day on Thursday, that front begins to move into parts of Missouri and Illinois, and we see those showers and storms erupting again Thursday afternoon and Thursday evening. Now, it does look like, if you remember, we saw that enhanced risk and the slight risk for severe storms Wednesday with a marginal risk, with a smaller slight risk on Thursday. The reason for that, well, we've got a pretty pristine air mass here. We've got plenty of instability across parts of Kansas and Oklahoma on Wednesday evening. But as we move on into the day on Thursday, much more widespread rain and thunderstorm activity, and that's what's going to kind of hamper instability. And we'll look at that here. Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening, plenty of instability for the development of these thunderstorms and potentially growing into, or intensifying into strong to severe storms across the central and the southern plains. As we play this out, though, getting into the day on Thursday, we're talking about much more meager instability. Remember, again, widespread showers and storms across the area. That really works to dampen the severe weather risk. So just showing you one more time, that higher risk on Wednesday afternoon and evening across parts of the Central Plains, Texas into Kansas and Missouri, shifting perhaps into Illinois overnight. And then that risk on Thursday, a slightly lower risk, but still a risk for some strong storms across Illinois, Indiana, and then parts of Kentucky and Tennessee. Now, jumping back ahead, let's talk about wind gusts just briefly. We will see gusty winds in the warm sector on this one, so warmer weather across the Central Plains into the Central and Eastern Corn Belt. But breezy afternoons Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday as well as that storm system begins to approach. Nothing, incredible like we've seen with some of these really intense low pressure systems where we're talking about 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts, more in some instances, but still looking at, afternoon wind gusts between 30 and 40 miles per hour for much of the Corn Belt Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Now let's look at the temperatures here. We'll see first warm air feeding up from the south in advance of that storm system, very warm across the Corn Belt, and then there you see it Thursday, that sharp cold front. I mean, that is a well-defined cold front moving through the Corn Belt here. Let's go ahead and get to the end of this loop. Thursday, right around the lunch hour, stretching from Michigan across Indiana, Illinois, into Missouri, Arkansas, all the way down to the southern plains. And we're talking about 60s and 70s on one side of this, 40s and 50s on the other side. So quite a dramatic temperature shift for many as we get through the day on Thursday. But here's the good news. Look how fast we rebound. Just as quickly as we did over the last couple of days, going from snow in Missouri and Illinois to 70s 2 days later. We do the same thing essentially with 60s and 70s, perhaps 80s across the parts of the central and southern plains, returning rather quickly for the weekend. So good news there. Looking out a little bit further, what's the jet stream up to? Well, we see this weekend storm system, the midweek storm system, I should say, early Wednesday and Thursday. We do bring in some ridging. That allows us to warm up again as we get into the weekend. And then we're seeing the development of another kind of weak disturbance as we get into the early part of next week, early to midweek. That could maybe cool us off a little bit. Again, talking about maybe some light showers moving through the area Monday and Tuesday, and maybe some slightly cooler than average temperatures across the eastern Corn Belt, maybe Illinois through Ohio, parts of Kentucky and Tennessee. But this is really still rather warm across the central and the northern parts of the Corn Belt. So not seeing any cold air coming in, really. Maybe periods of cool weather across the eastern Corn Belt, but still not seeing any signs of any really cold weather. And what you also notice is we're not seeing the development of any more really big storm systems, at least for the next week. Maybe just a couple of subtle disturbances bringing some light precipitation to the area. We'll go ahead and look once more a little bit further out here at the European model. Let's go ahead and step through time with this one, looking at Wednesday and Thursday, seeing that first system track through the central and the eastern Corn Belt. We get into the weekend now, pretty quiet. Remember, we're warming up quickly again behind that cold front, so warmer and quiet for the day on Saturday for much of us in the Corn Belt. Getting into Sunday, this is when we start to see that weak disturbance begin to organize. Maybe Sunday night into Monday, seeing some light showers across parts of the central and eastern Corn Belt. I'm going to save details for this for our Thursday and Friday morning forecast because I just don't have a lot of faith in the overall picture here once we get out into next week with the current look from the medium and long range weather models. Just a lot of uncertainty in there, not much agreement. So the main thing I wanted to convey was once we get past this Wednesday and Thursday storm system, maybe taking a short break from the really well-defined, powerful storm systems across the Corn Belt. But as we get towards the end of next week, again, consistency not quite there. My trust not entirely there, but we're already starting to see the advertisement of maybe another storm system developing across the Central Plains. But again, we're looking out about 2 weeks almost at this point, 10 days at least. So I just wanted to say once we get past this weekend, here's the total rainfall through 7 a.m. on Friday. If I change this, we look out the next 10 days, not a big change when you look at just the Corn Belt. I know parts of the East Coast, parts of the West, the Pacific Northwest changed dramatically there. But if you look at the Corn Belt, where we see the heavy rain here Wednesday and Thursday from Kansas to Illinois and Indiana on southward from there, not a big change. If we look over the next 10 days, it's just across parts of the central and the northern plains, maybe seeing some light precipitation. But this is just something we'll watch here over the next couple of days. But perhaps maybe parts of the Corn Belt able to get rolling with some of the corn and soybean planting here after we get through this Wednesday and Thursday storm system, maybe and usher in that warmth if we can get maybe a little bit of dry weather. I don't want to make too many promises. I just like the subtle shift here from changing from the constant reloading of these big, powerful storm systems to maybe a little bit more of a transient flow here with more subtle storm systems tracking through the area. Quickly, I know I'm running long. High temperature forecast here, just getting us through the end of the week. Tuesday, warming up nicely. Remember, mid-70s, maybe even 80s across the central plains here. Our Wednesday high temperatures starting to see the cooler air come in from the north with that next storm system. Thursday, a bit cooler still, talking about, still 60s. We're not seeing any real cold air. Remember, it was cold last April, and we're talking about cooler weather. We're talking about 50s and 60s right now, which I think we'll take. Rebounding quickly, though, on the backside. Look, Friday high temperature is already back in the 70s, extending into the northern plains. Saturday, high temperatures really warm across the central plains, maybe seeing some mid-80s for parts of you in Kansas and Nebraska on Saturday. Low temperatures, just a couple of these Thursday morning, getting into Friday morning, starting to see those 30s across the northern plains. And then our Saturday morning high temperatures behind the storm system, seeing the coldest temperatures peak here Friday and Saturday. Overnight lows waking up on Saturday morning to the 20s and 30s across the upper Midwest and much of the northern plains. And if you haven't done so already, go to my.nutrienagsolutions.com, set up a free account with an email address and a password there. You get you access to the Weather Story platform. Eric and I are rolling out new content 5 days a week here. This page is under construction. We've got big, grand ideas, and I just want to make sure that you follow along with us as we head through the spring and into the summer. As always, Eric Snodgrass will have an in-depth look at the evolution of the next 1 to 2 weeks in our Thursday morning Ag Forecast video. And I'll have your next regional forecast for you here midday on Friday. Have a great day.